Hi everyone, this week we're going to be taking a look at a Windows 95 computer that I picked up from a free lot locally. It didn't turn on when I got it. I swapped a bunch of things around, got it to at least turn on so that the fan was turning on, and then just started taking it apart because there's no video out. Figured I'd at least clean it up and see what I was working with. Ended up switching the power switch. One on there was not working. It's an old style switch, so when you turn it on, it is on. Power is going directly through it, so you have to make sure that it is wired correctly. It's not a momentary switch like current computers that just tell the computer to turn on. This physically turns on the power supply. So we get that wired up, got it to click properly, and then we went ahead and attached the ground wire to the chassis. This does have an extra wire on it just to make sure that everything's grounded properly. Not all of them have this, but this one did. I went ahead and took the motherboard tray out, swapped out the CMOS battery just because some of these old computers are finicky. Figured maybe that would let it boot up, give it a quick try. Unfortunately, that still didn't work. All I could get to work was the fan, which is directly powered by a Molex connector. Next, I ran through, checked all the wires just to see if anything looked out of place. It didn't, so I just kept plugging it in to power, trying to see if anything would turn on, see if the hard drive would power up. It didn't seem to be spinning up as if the computer was talking to it. So I just kept trying unplugging different things. I depopulated the entire motherboard, took all the RAM off one stick at a time and tried that. Nothing was really getting it to actually boot up. You can see there's power to the DVD drive or CD drive because it is trying to eject the disk, but it does not function. It won't load anything at this point. Here it is trying to boot up just to see if anything will come up on the screen at all. I booted it up, gave it quite a bit of time, and it simply didn't display anything on the screen. It just acts like it's not turning on. It doesn't want to boot up at this point, so I'm just going to keep trying to take things out and see what's causing the issue. I figured it can't hurt to get a look at the CPU, see if it's socketed properly, and get some thermal paste on there just for fun. It's not really gonna do anything. These don't make enough heat to make that worthwhile, but figured I'd go ahead and give it a try. Same results. I cleaned out, blew out where the pins go into the zip socket. Nothing changed. There's the new thermal paste. Make sure it's the wrong amount. Slop it all over there and just get it back in place. Here's a hard drive I had lying around from an old Xbox. I figured maybe if the one in there was bad, I'd give this a try. It didn't work, so I busted out my Windows 98 computer and built a hard drive and tried to go and get that installed just to see if having a pre-built drive would work. I ended up finally getting the computer to turn on after realizing the fault was the video card itself, not allowing the computer to turn on. It had a short. So I borrowed the card from the Windows 98 computer until I could buy one. Was able to at least get something to display on the screen, so now we know that the motherboard does function this far, and I can at least enter the BIOS. Once I built the hard drive on the other computer, I could boot into Windows 95. I played around a little bit, and then shortly after I just kept getting error message after error message. At the request of my wife, I did try to install Disney Learning Center because she still has her original disc from the 90s. It didn't install, it attempted to, but the computer just froze up and blue screened every time. The same thing happened every time I tried to install drivers. It would just blue screen and come up with different error messages. I tried Googling the error messages, it didn't seem to do anything. So then I figured I would try, now that I have the computer booting up, to build a hard drive using a floppy right from this computer. There you can see the install screen for the activity center. That's about as far as it got before it just locked up and turned off. And so now I'm going to try, after playing a little Minesweeper before the next blue screen, I'm going to try swapping out the floppy drive and see if the floppy is faulty, because it wouldn't read any of the disks that I had. I can get it to boot up to this far only with a hard drive built by another computer. I tried building a hard drive, I tried using a compact flash card just to see if that would make any difference, and 2 different compact flash adapters. They all had the same error. It would work temporarily and then it would get a fatal error. So here we took the floppy drive out of my Windows XP computer. I know that it's working, so at least we can get that far and try to get a hard drive built for this computer. At this point, I hadn't burned the floppy correctly, so it wasn't reading even on this one. I went back and learned how to build a bootable floppy drive so we could get this far and verify drive integrity and get Windows installed onto this hard drive. Unfortunately, after getting everything installed, I had the same results. It would have a crackling on screen and then just go to an error. I figured with all the issues I was having with Windows 95, I'd give Windows 98 a try, hoping that maybe a better operating system, my opinion, might work. It's still the same issues, it just simply wouldn't install. I tried pre-building a Windows 98 hard drive, but it wouldn't go over to this computer. I tried building it halfway and then finishing the install on this computer. It just wouldn't resume the installation. So something else is wrong. I'm not really sure what. I did take everything out that I possibly could, put it back in, piece at a time. I even ended up taking out the sound card just as a last-ditch effort to say maybe that's causing some kind of issues with it. Didn't seem to make any difference at all. I can start the Windows installation, but I can't get any further. This is a screen that I stared at for days, trying this different ways with different configurations, different hard drives, compact flash cards, different CD drive, different floppies, different floppy drive, and it just unfortunately didn't make a difference at all. It still keep coming up with either an error message with a pre-built disk or not being able to build its own hard drive. If anyone has any solutions for this, I don't usually fish for comments, but if you have anything helpful, constructive, I'd love to hear what you have to say if I could get this working. I do still have this machine, I just had to put it away. I wasn't really getting anywhere, it was just kind of a waste of time at this point to keep trying the same thing over and over again. So if anyone has any suggestions on how to get this up and running, I'd love to hear them down in the comments. Here's where Windows 98 looks like it's going to be pretty promising. It gets all the way to 100% installed and then a little black bar shows up. I figured maybe there's just an issue. I tried re-burning the floppy. It ended up stopping in exactly the same spot every time. It's just not allowing it to go any further. It gets stuck here and then you have to reboot the computer by turning it off. Nothing else will respond. With Windows 98 not working, I just went back to trying Windows 95 as that's what I wanted anyways, and here's what would come up on this. It was in a different spot in the setup every time, but that's what would happen. It would try to get through the setup, and then it would just pop up all these error messages. Well, not error, but kind of artifacts on the screen and not go any further. Wouldn't respond to any button presses. The computer had to be physically powered off and then turned back on. Obviously, I failed at this point. It's not going any further. I wasn't really going to post this video, but I put a lot of time into it, and it's working more than it was. It's just unfortunately not able to boot into a Windows operating system. So thank you for watching.